I'm not looking for a boyfriend.
Okay, but if you were, like, what kind of qualities would you imagine yourself with a guy? Like, what would he have?
I like
Or a girl?
guys with really big hands.
Oh, okay. And how about for, like, a girl?
It really depends. For me, it's more about the connection more than anything.
Okay, if it's with a girl, it's more for the connection. If it's a guy, it's...
No, it's always for the connection, but for girls, it's kind of more like a sexual thing, and I don't have like one type. It's sort of just like a...
Okay.
You know, depends on how they look at you.
Your upcoming album, The Fame Monster, right? You mentioned that yesterday during the press conference. So can you give us a bit of a sneak peek into that? What's it going to be like? And who is the monster in The Fame Monster?
Well, the whole idea originally around this idea of a monster is I've really been having these kind of visions of pop music as something that both invades and takes over, but has kind of a bad rap sometimes, like a monster. Okay. So I've been just seeing a lot of monster imagery and some monster-inspired fashion. So I don't know. I wrote a song called Monster, and everything's just kind of from there propelled forward. And I've written a lot of new music, and it's going to be amazing.
Your album is about love, sex, drugs, alcohol, even bisexuality. So I'm curious to know, what was your parents' reaction like when they first heard your album?
They loved it. They said it was. They thought it was my best work. They thought it was well written and memorable. You know, my parents aren't like squeaky clean. They're not terribly outrageous either. They just, they grew up in the 70s and they are who they are, and they understand me. I'm very lucky. I am very lucky that my parents understand me.
Okay, but when you were growing up as well, I read somewhere that you mentioned that if you really like something, you were bound to stick out, and you couldn't connect to the people like your peers.
I was obsessed with like art and theater and music, which I think for some people they don't relate to it. So just me constantly talking about things and constantly singing, constantly playing piano, I think it just annoyed some of my classmates, but I don't really care.
So, like, did you always know that you were gonna break out from the back room of the music industry? And
no, I didn't know exactly. I just knew it was my destiny to make music, and all of this is very exciting.
All right. Now, you are hailed as one of the most sexiest women in the music industry now.
I am? By who?
By many of your fans, in fact. How far would you go?
I love my fans.
How far would you go with the sexy factor?
How far would I go?
With the sexy factor. Like, have you ever thought of doing a concert in nude?
I don't know. I don't really have very many inhibitions. It's not... See, for me, it's not about sexy. I consider my shows to be performance art driven. So unless the nudity or the nakedness is saying something about pop culture or art or society, it doesn't mean anything. So it has to be in the proper context. I'm just not going to be randomly naked on stage for no reason.
Now, I've talked to many of your fans in Singapore yesterday before your showcase, and they all said one thing about you. They love the fact that you're brave, and you're brave to be so original, So I'm just wondering, is that a conscious effort for you to look for inspiration to keep yourself different from what's out there in the market, or is it something that you think that you've already been born with?
I think that that's kind of the same thing, what you just said. I'm born with natural creativity, and I don't have to work at design. I learn about it every day, and I'm growing at it. But I have sort of a natural intuition when it comes to designing the show. In terms of being brave, that's completely my mother. Instilling that in me.
Tell us more about her and how she influences you.
She's just a good mom. Like a really good mom. So I'm fearless because of my mom. And in terms of being original, I always was different. So different by nature has an originality to it. And I guess you could just say that I embrace the things about myself now that people before thought were kind of strange. Now I embrace them, and I do when I'm creating, if I see something that I think looks like something I've seen before, I just won't do it. I like to do things that are fresh, new, tell stories that people haven't heard.
All right, so in the Fame Monster, right, is it going to be similar to the Fame, or is it going to be something completely different? Are you like following in Madonna's steps in like totally redefining, reinventing music?
You'll have to see.
All right, we'll wait for that then.